solar panels or some crazy amount of Texas somewhere over in Africa. Have you heard anything about that?
No, I didn't hear about that. What happened?
Yeah, this was a few months back, man. It made the news and stuff. Like everybody was giving him props because he did this thing for like whatever country. Where is he from?
I don't know. He sounds like, I can tell he's not from here. He sounds like he's from like...
Might be Nigerian or something. Whatever country he's from, he set up this thing where he furnished like millions of panels or millions of dollars worth of solar panels and stuff like that, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's good. But I remember seeing Jay-Z, like this was back, probably like 8 years ago or something. I remember seeing Jay-Z walking through like some little shanty ghettos in Africa with what's his name? Not Bill Gates. I think maybe it was Bill Gates, you know what I'm saying, or the other one. You know what I'm saying? Like in some water program. So I always question, I mean, it's good, but I always question that shit at the same time. Like, what are these cats really doing? And what's this really about? Like, it's probably a cover for some other shit, you know what I'm saying?
Of course. Him
like
and Nas.
Some eugenics type.
Yeah, him and Nas seem to have something going on. Because him and Nas were saying they were beefing and stuff like that, but I saw him and Nas doing a Masonic handshake. So
yeah.
Then he had an Aleister Crowley t-shirt on. Jay-Z, he had like a throwback Aleister Crowley shirt on and shit, talking about do what thou will and all that stuff with all that stuff. He's tripped out, man.
But then they want to tell you ain't nothing going on, keep it moving, right?
Yeah,
they'll tell you.
But he was saying it. He had some lyrics in the song, and he was saying like, "Murder Jesus, murder Jesus," and then they said something. They asked him about it. They said it was a radio show, man. It was a chick on the radio show, and she was saying, "Hey Jay, they're saying that you're caught up in devil worship and stuff and all this stuff, and you're saying this." And when he responded, he said, "It's not me. It's not me. It's not me." So what he was saying was he's doing all this stuff, but that's not really him. He's doing it, but that's not really his will.
He's doing what he's told to do, basically.
He's an entertainer. He's just right. That's in the memo for that's his entertainment. He's just doing what what he's told as an entertainer, like an actor.
I mean, my thing is, like I like you and me, man. Like we got the advantage of actually growing up in hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So we've seen like all the fucking evolutions from fucking back in the Sugar Hill Gangs, the Cool Mo D's, the Fat Boys, and JJ Fad, and all of that stuff, right? So like videos were very big, growing up. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just you saw different kind of aspects from different parts of the country, what was going on or whatever, but they were always just fun and or just like real grimy and cool or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But then something happened in the 90s. It started to change quite a bit, you know what I'm saying? I started seeing, my first thing I remember, I started wondering about like all these collaborations, you know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, like I started hearing guys who wouldn't normally do a song together, don't have anything in common, they start doing songs together and shit, I'm like, oh, that's interesting, cool, no big deal or whatever. And then I started seeing all these trends in the videos, and then it just got straight up devilish and demonic, and just what I would consider disagreeable energy that has nothing, or imagery that has nothing to do with hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And that's pretty much where it stands to this day. 15, 20 years later, every time you turn on a video, I was watching this one video. The song is a dope song. I can't remember. It's whatever the name of the song is. But my daughter, she was bouncing to it or whatever. And I'm sitting here and I look up, because she's watching it on YouTube, and I look up at the video, and it's like a white girl sitting there covered in blood, gyrating in a tub and shit. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Has nothing to do with the song, yo. You know what I'm saying? Just like that one Jay-Z song when he put out, I can't remember what album, but the song was on to the next one, where it's all this kind of vampire-ish type, this real ghoulish type fucking imagery and all this shit like that. I'm like, yo, this is not hip-hop, yo. What the fuck is going on? You can't try to tell me you sat here and came up with this concept and shit yeah, let's roll with this. I know niggas in the hood gonna love this shit, you know what I'm saying? You go from fucking Hawaiian fucking Sophie You know what I'm saying? Nigga running around in, like Hawaiian, guaya betters and shit. To, making videos with vampires and blood dripping and like all this fucking like, crazy imagery or whatever. I'm like, well, what the fuck is going on? I mean, you could, but what I'm saying is that they could be actually showing us what's to come and like the best way that they can or whatever, because they could very well be neutral to actually like antagonistic about the agenda that they're forced to carry out. You know what I'm saying? But those ones who are intelligent, like I consider Jay-Z without knowing anything, to be an intelligent brother from afar. You know what I'm saying? So he seems like the type. Like if he was like caught up in a situation where he was kind of forced to either forego like everything that he'd worked for or to do this, but he can do it in a way that could basically, some people that are caught up in polarity consciousness and they look at a video like on to the next one and think, damn, that's fucked up. Because that's my first thought, like, yo, that's not hip hop. But then when I go deeper and I deal with like the higher esoteric level, whatever, I can also say that, yo, maybe this dude is just trying to like show us something and tell us something of what really is going on, and like we need to, like we've been saying, now get our shit together and really get up on our square and shit like that. Because Jay-Z, he's a 5%er. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And like he called beef like last year or something because he was rocking his 5%er chain and like they were trying to take that after him and shit. You know what I'm saying? So like, you never know. Like, I try to really, like, over the years, my point is, over the years, is I've seen, like, different artists that I love. Like, even, like, motherfuckers like Outkast, like, all of a sudden, they got Skull and Bones and all of this shit. I'm like, man, come on. What's going on? You're not going to tell me that every single artist just happens to love Skull and Bone attire. You know what I'm saying? Every single rap artist. And fucking Freemasonic attire. Y'all all just got an infinity for that shit, huh? Because that's what we rocking in the hood.
Well, I think in my personal opinion, when I see the Skull and Bones in the hip hop, to me that's a symbol that the hip hop's been hijacked, because that goes back to, remember I was talking about the pirates and all that stuff.
Piracy.
If you think about it, man, if you really think about it, the hip hop is not an industry anymore. Now it's a religion, because hip hop used to survive off of people buying music. People don't buy music anymore from hip hop. When's the last time you heard somebody saying they're going to get the new Jay-Z CD or cassette? They don't sell. People get this stuff on the internet for free or listen to it on YouTube now. There might be a few people who buy it on iTunes, but most people download it for free, or they know somebody who can give it to them. They put it in their iPod or whatever. How are these people? These people are richer than ever. And I know Jay-Z got a lot of side hustles. He sells Rocawear jeans for like $400 a pop and all that stuff. He's a hustler. Yeah. He be tearing them up, man. But he's a hustler nonetheless. But when it comes to the music, unless he's doing a concert, no one's buying that stuff. So who are they producing? And not too many people got the kind of money to go go to a concert like that. So from what I'm looking at, these people are being paid to be rappers, but they're not being paid by their fans anymore. It used to be the fans.
Oh yeah, of course.
Now,
yeah, yo.
And his label is, Jay-Z's label is Rockefeller Records. How many people actually think about that when they look at him?
Yeah, I know.
Who's paying? Who the hell's paying him all these? Who's paying these guys all these millions? Like, look at Kanye West. He wrote a song about his jaw getting broken, and turned into a millionaire. That through the wire.
Yep.
Yeah, he came out with he came out with a track while his jaw getting broken in the car, and now he's a millionaire, multi-millionaire. He's walking around. He look. They blew his head up so much. He was up there disrespecting Pac and everything, talking about Pac was just an overrated actor. I'm better than Pac and all that. They got him. They blew his head up so big, man. He thinks he's the president.
Yeah, man. Like he must be that. What do they call it? That Ambien. They must keep him on that shit because he be on some crazy shit, yo. Like he's a classic example of like he seems like he's just on the fucking like the verge of just losing it at any time. You know what I'm saying? Like, 'cause he's always, like, kind of lashed out, like, against what he's had to do. Like, he's always had, like, these flashes, of, like, George Bush don't like black people, and, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure you've seen the footage of one of his concerts where he's talking about, like, basically he sold his soul and blah, 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 and yada, yada, yada type shit.
He came out with an album.
So, like,
he came out. He came out with a cut called "Blood on the Leaves."
What was that about?
I don't know. He came out with a song or it's an album. Like the title to his new album is called "Blood on the Leaves."
Oh. Yeah.
and see, I don't know the man personally. He might be. If I talk to him personally, he could be cool. I'm not trying to judge him, but he was okay. He said George Bush doesn't care about black people. In my opinion, where the hell did that come from? Why did he say that? Because the last person who tried to take that road was ODB, Old Dirty Bastard.
Yeah.
You saw what happened to ODB.
Yeah.
ODB was always saying Bush this. Yeah, ODB kept saying Bush this, Bush that, and you notice everybody else from the Wu-Tang Clan wasn't saying shit. They all kept their mouth shut. Method Man and they didn't want to. Yeah, they didn't want to go there, and so ODB kept running his mouth. Next thing you know, he was dead on stage. Not saying it was connected. It might not have been connected. It could have been it looks like it is, but it might not have been. The man might have literally had a heart attack. Who knows? But Kanye West is trying to pretend. Kanye West is trying to play the role to be in opposition to these people. He's an actor. He's playing the role to be up against, but he doesn't want no smoke from them, man. Bush, you crazy?
Nah.
You better have a private island somewhere with the Chinese government surrounding it, protecting you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, either that, or you better be on your square. You know
boy.
One of the two.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, that's interesting, man.
Yeah, and me personally, I think Tupac myself. I think Tupac's alive. I don't think he died.
Get into that, because I've seen your documentation on that. I want you to get into that, but I got to ask you about some of your other documentation as well. But I won't detract your thought. But get into that train of thought right there.
Well, there's nothing that tells me he is dead. There was no funeral. Everybody who knew him said they never saw his body. The only people saying they saw his body, they said it was at the hospital. But none of it makes any sense. Where the autopsy picture obviously looks fake. If you look at the car, the picture of the car he was in, the last picture he supposedly took, there's no key in the ignition with him and Suge together. And then his tattoo. Yeah. Okay, before he died in '96, he had a tattoo on his neck. In the photograph of him laying on the bed, there's no tattoo on his neck. And then the time, everything equals 7. Like the time he got shot or something, or the time he died, it'd be like 4 + 3 = 7. All this stuff will equal stuff. It's like it's designed for you to know that he's not dead. Like they want you to know. Like he wants you to know. Then there's a police officer now saying he got paid like $1.5 million to help. There's a police officer on the news, man, saying that he got paid $1.5 million to help Pac cover up his death. That's on the news. You haven't seen that?
Interesting.
Then his mother.
No, I haven't seen that.
Then Afeni Shakur was saying she wanted her son went quietly. How is getting shot to death in the middle of a main street in Las Vegas on a big fight night with Mike Tyson going quietly?
But you knew what was up to, huh?
Of course. That man's not dead, man. He was out on appeal. Like I was saying in my video, he was out on appeal. He was looking to go back to jail. He was on bail. On appeal on that rape charge. So
true.
So do I want to go to do 10 years, or do I want to go to Trinidad or Cuba or something. That's why he was making so much music. People say he was making 3 tracks a day. Yeah, he's gonna hustle his music for the next 50 years after he's gone. You know what I mean? Hitting them with double CDs every year.
Yo, you know what's so crazy?
Huh?
Yo, this is so crazy, yo. What you just listening to you, man? I just had this fucking thought again, going back to this whole Morris legacy and shit. What if, for all intents and purposes, Tupac Shakur is dead? If this nigga has claimed back his true national status, you know what I'm saying? Which obviously, you know, Tupac would have been along that track of research or whatever. Then Tupac Shakur is dead. You know what I'm saying? That Tupac Shakur does not exist anymore. So it's very possible that he could be lawfully, you know what I'm saying, still in place as his true and living national status, but not as Tupac Shakur, the citizen, you know, and property of the U.S. government. Have you ever thought about that?
It's possible. See, I know somebody who knew Tupac. You know Sonika Shakur. He used to go by Cody Scott. He wrote the book autobiography of the L.A. gang member. I know Sonika. I've talked to him before, and Sonika has a tape, a phone conversation recorded of him and Tupac talking for the phone conversation like an hour long. And this was at the time when Tupac was discussing doing the One Nation album, and Tupac wanted to go, this is what Tupac told you. You can even look it up. Oh, you can YouTube it. Tupac and Sonika Shakur, and you can listen to the tape yourself when we get done if you want to. But Tupac was saying how he wants to go out to every city and every town around America and talk to all the dope dealers, all the gangbangers, all the criminal underworld. He wanted to get them to cease violence. Then he said, we'll do L.A. last because L.A. will be the most difficult place to get peace. This was back in the 90s when you had the big thing between the Bloods and Crips. And so that was sort of the frame of mind that Tupac was in. He wanted to participate in something like that, but he was a musician. He was an entertainer. That wasn't really his position. You see what I'm saying? And so he needed to chill out because he had made people uncomfortable, and he's not a politician. You know, people don't want him out there using his position as an entertainer to complicate you know how the establishment is, and so that's more the lines I think he was at. I mean, reclaiming the sovereignty. I guess he could have, you know, I guess he could have been.
He could have maybe used that as a way out. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the only way. You know what I mean? Like, he could disappear and shit, but, like, obviously the status quo would know that. He would have to have some type of arrangement to keep them off of his back and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, he could not disappear without the establishment either having some kind of interest in that, you know, whether they knew about it, you know what I'm saying, after the fact, or, you know, they had, like, some type of, like, you know, handshake agreement to let this shit go down. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. I don't think it was so much the establishment. To be honest with you, man, I don't think it was so much the white establishment that was after Pac, because Pac got shot 5 times. The first time, right? He got shot. You know, say he did die. The second time was in Las Vegas. My personal feeling is that didn't happen, but it's possible it did. You know, same thing. But the first time he got shot 5 times. Okay, that was before he got hit. I think that was before or after he was doing the rape thing. Anyway, he got shot 5 times. That was coming out of Bad Boy Studio. Puff went to Howard College.
Yeah.
Puff was college educated, a college educated black man. So for Pac to get shot, I don't think that was the white establishment. I don't think white people.
Sure.
I don't think the government did that to Pac.
Yeah, but then again, if you know, going by, you know, Del Gaddis's, you know, theory or whatever, and really like going by what we know that they were to us in the very beginning, which were basically fodder, you know, for our own infighting, which led to our demise. You know what I'm saying? You're probably right. I can say that, yeah, but it probably wasn't the white establishment. You know what I'm saying? Like you had a bunch of those bootleg motherfuckers who understood. Obviously, on the surface they're talking about he had beef with Quincy Jones because of his, daughter, and because, he tried to come on to him. Quincy tried to come on to Tupac or whatever. I'm sure that has something to do with it. That's just like the Hollywood script. They want everybody to, go on and regurgitate to keep us away from more like what you're saying. I think. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it was a black dude, man, who got Pac in trouble on the what was it when they said he raped somebody? Pac's perception.
Yeah.
Pac put it in his Machiavelli track. He said that realest shit I ever wrote, where he said, "Let me tell you about a snitch named Haitian Jack. Knew he was working for the Fed, same crime." Basically, he was saying it was a black dude who set him up on a rape case.
Mm.
So I think, to be honest with you, man, and I'm not trying to make it seem like, I think it was his biggest issue didn't seem to be more towards coming from the black community, because he in the 80s, when you really think about the 80s, Janet Jackson, Paula Abdul, Whitney Houston, the focus was on women, on black women in the black community. You had Sugar Hill Gang, you had LL Cool J, but rap wasn't really as big back then as it had become after that. It was still looked at as being underground. It was the black women. Where the hell did Tupac come from? He kind of came out of nowhere.
He was like the roadie for Digital Underground or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he was a background
dancer. He came out of that camp.
He was a background, right?
Yeah.
He was a poet. He was into poetry, coming out of Baltimore School of Arts.
Yeah.
And he wanted to go join the Black Panthers of Atlanta. And there was a Jewish woman named Layla Steinberg who said, "No, you're not going to go join the Black Panthers of Atlanta. You're going to take your poetry and become a rapper." It was a Jewish woman that turned him into a rapper. He didn't even want to rap. He wanted to do poetry and become a Black Panther, the new Black Panther Party. And it was a Jewish woman that convinced him that rapping was what he should do, and she plugged him in with Shock G of Digital Underground. Then he became a background dancer. And then once he became a background dancer, he ended up in that movie Nothing But Trouble. He was in the background. Remember that? With Dan Aykroyd?
Okay, yeah, no, I didn't know that.
He's in the movie. If you see the movie Nothing But Trouble with Dan Aykroyd, Demi Moore, Chevy Chase, they bring Digital Underground Shock G and them in to do the movie. And in the movie, Chevy Chase ends up supposedly marrying John Candy, and John Candy played two characters. He played one of the security guards and a woman in the house who was supposed to be a sister. He played a man and a woman in the movie, and Chevy Chase was supposed to marry the woman, and Digital Underground was playing the wedding song and all that stuff, and you can see Pac in the background in that movie, and the movie had All Around the World same song. That was the first song that Pac really came out with that people knew it was big. All Around the World same song, Digital Underground. And then after that, he ended up in the movie Juice. Then he came out with Tupacalypse Now that had Brenda's Got a Baby in it. That's what made him big. That's the song that took him, Brenda's Got a Baby. So Juice and Brenda's Got a Baby made him big. And then it was during the movie of Juice, he took on the character of Bishop. Pac was a soft, sensitive guy before making Juice. He was friendly. If you listen to him before Juice, he was friendly, kind, empathetic. He got into the role of Bishop during the movie Juice, and he never let that role go. And then you see it in his music. When the other album came out, Strictly for My Niggas, you see how tough and how he was. Then he came out with the Thug Life album, and he just turned into some, tough dude. And then it kept progressing and progressing and progressing. Now he wants to lead some movement, and he's using Thug Life as the catalyst of the movement. And then he came out with the Don Illuminati. I mean, he went from being a background dancer to talking about traveling the country, getting dope dealers to stop doing. He went all that in 5 years. Who the hell is he?
That's interesting.
Who the hell is who
that
is he?
Very interesting, though.
Who then he just disappears,
Is,
and we really don't even know what happened to him. Who the hell is he, and where did he come from? Nothing makes sense about him.
And then, it's funny because I never got like this connection with him and Jada Pinkett and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like I never quite understood that. You know what I'm saying? Like how she seems to have like the inside, knowing shit. They were like buddies and shit, but they never talked about like them being like intimately like connected or anything like that. I'm like, huh, that's interesting. Is this like really happening, or were they just real good friends and she just kind of like was like a little flower on the wall or something, or what? Did she have something to do with where he ultimately ended up?
She went to that school with him, Baltimore School of Arts. If you look,
that's probably some type of mind control, MK Ultra type of fucking. Some shit like that.
They got pictures of him where he's doing ballet, man. He's dressed up doing ballet.
Wow.
Doing.
And he was obviously in touch with his feminine side.
He is kind of feminine. If you listen to him talk, he said he was raised.
To me, man, like I'll tell you, like basically my perspective of Tupac. I've always respected Tupac more as like what he says when I hear him speak, as opposed when I hear him rhyme. You know what I'm saying? There's some things that he says in his lyrics that I can appreciate and respect, but as far as like his lyrical prowess, I was never a fan of Tupac to that aspect. But I always seen him as like conflicted. He appeared to be like an individual that was just conflicted with, I guess, whatever he was having to deal with. Basically everything that you just chronicled. Imagine that. This individual with all this inside of him and all this desire to actually, spark change, for the community that he grew up, loving and like, learning from and like, being inspired by and shit like that, and having to fucking go out like how he went out and shit. That when I saw that one back in the days, when I saw that one spread, I guess he did. I don't know who he did it with. I think it was a Jewish woman, like Leibowitz or something, where he was sitting in the bathtub, like in a real bitch position or whatever, with all the gold and stuff like that. You've seen that, right?
Yeah, the bathtub photo thing he did.
Yeah, and you just look at the look in his face, man. It just says it all. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, I don't know too many brothers that don't even claim to be half as masculine as Tupac was claiming back then. I don't know too many brothers that will do that. You know what I'm saying? Unless they were under duress in some shape or form. So, Yeah, so from when I started seeing that, and I was putting that with all the other scuttlebutt I was hearing about, like what was really going on with Tupac, I was like, yeah, this dude was conflicted because like on one minute, he would be on some, real like immature shit or whatever, and then the next minute he'd be talking some real like Black Power stuff, at the same time, But yeah, that's pretty much my take on Tupac. I mean, if he is still alive, man, you know what I'm saying? Like, more power to him and shit. I hope he's working behind the scenes to bring forth the truth on all levels as it relates to what's going on in America, especially. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, I like personally, I think he was a talented guy. He had a lot of interesting concepts. I got nothing against him. I never met him in person. I think I'm a big fan. Growing up, man, I used to listen to all his music that he came out with, and so I got nothing but love for the guy. But I think it's very interesting that a lot of his stuff is kind of like he's really a mysterious character when it comes down to it.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I've seen a couple of clips that you put online regarding him, which led me to a couple of other little pieces that I like, that detail a lot of the stuff that you're talking about or whatever. And man, like if ever a conspiracy theory, that's like has to be the number, even bigger than, because as far as I'm concerned, like the events that happened, on 9/11. That's no fucking conspiracy, That's like out in the open. Anybody would have to blame, can read on a sixth grade level can unravel that. You know what I'm saying? To me, the death of Tupac Shakur, in my humble opinion, is a bigger conspiracy theory than what happened, at Jim Powers and, at Washington, D.C. on December 11th. I'm sorry, September 11th. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
to me personally.
well, President Obama made a joke. He commented. He said, "What really happened to Biggie and Tupac?" He made a joke about it, and for the president of the United States,
in relation to what?
I don't know.
When was this, and what was the reference?
I don't know. It takes me back to what Tretch said. Tretch from Naughty by Nature. He made a comment saying that the two biggest rappers are out walking around and nobody knows anything about it. He was talking about Biggie and Tupac. He was saying basically they're alive walking around and nobody know nothing. So.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think people, there's a lot of people say Suge Knight did that to Pac and stuff. I just don't believe it, man. Why would you be in the same, come on, he's going to be in the same car as somebody who got shot, who he knew was going to get shot?
Yeah, and a halo bullets and shit,
Right. Ain't nobody,
I don't think
then nobody's going to feel comfortable doing that.
Nah, especially the position that he was in at that time. He could have worked out a better deal for that than himself. And especially because the nigga ended up going to jail anyway. So, I don't think that, I mean, he may know what happened, but I don't think he may have been an unwilling cause, like after the fact or whatever, but I don't think he willingly walked into that. And unless you show some... I was going to say, unless you show some documentation where he was like under some type of mind control or something, he didn't know what the hell was going on at that time, then okay. But I don't know too many brothers that's just going to willingly walk into a hell of bullets that they know is coming. You know what I'm saying? For somebody that they got at least at best, like mild animosity towards. You know what I'm saying?
Well, him and Suge and Puffy, or P Diddy now, they were gonna try to start a black distribution company that ran the distribution of the music, and they're a record label, but they weren't into distribution. And then as soon as Suge and Puffy were talking about doing distribution, now this was Suge and Puffy talking together about creating a distribution company. And then as soon as that happened, Death Row the federal government ended up raiding the Death Row office, and something about taxes or something like that. I don't know the details, but that's when Death Row basically, this was like in the early 2000s or something, and I don't even think Suge was out. I think Suge was still locked up when this happened. But the Death Row basically, they went under, and then some woman, it was a Jewish woman, she had bought the whole company for like $25 million. The Death Row Records. She got the whole catalog. At least the last time I checked it, Professor Griff was talking. This isn't just me. Professor Griff was talking about this. And so.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's wow.
And you used to be able to.
Million, that's a steal. Even back then, it would have been a steal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And you used to be able to call Professor Griff. Like back in the day, you used to be able to call Professor Griff on the telephone, on his cell phone and stuff. Now you can't even. I tried to talk to him about a year ago. He had so much stuff on his website you had to go through to talk to him, man. You had to put your name, your address, all this stuff in there just to try to get an email to him. Back in the day, you used to be able to call his cell phone straight from YouTube. He put his number on.
I want to ask you about that. Actually, give me 2 minutes, man. Let's go to the toilet real quick. But yeah, hold that thought. I want to ask you about that. Yo, you there?
Mhm.
All right, cool. So, yeah, it's interesting you saying that about Griff because I was just actually stumped upon some series of clips the other day where people were saying that Griff was kind of out of line about a couple of things. I was really surprised to see that. But then I have seen a few videos just over the past year where, like they're trying to say Griff is like, like agent and like blah, 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 whatever. But I know how that shit is. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody at a certain level, whether you are or not, probably gets accused of that shit. But have you spoken to Griff lately or at all?
No, I spoke to Griff on the phone. Last time I talked to Professor Griff, I called him on his cell phone. It was like 3 years ago. And I tried to and I tried the next year. I tried to call him. I couldn't get a hold of him on his phone. And then the third year, this last year, I was like I couldn't even. The number had changed. And then I went to or maybe I didn't call the number. Maybe the third time, maybe I think maybe I had a new phone, or maybe either I called him and his phone was disconnected, or I had gotten a new phone and I lost his number. But when I went to go get his number again, he now has a website where you got to fill out a form to get a hold of him. And I don't got nothing against him, man. I like Professor Griff. If Professor Griff called me right now,
yeah,
I talk to him. Yeah, if Professor Griff called me right now, I talk to him. I think he's uh, a cool guy. I got a lot of love for Professor Griff, but I'm just saying it used to be easy to get in touch with him. It's not easy anymore.
Yeah, because he's always like, everybody got my number. But I'm like, yeah, I mean, like this, I know the material that Griff has put out over the years, it speaks for itself. And then since he's gotten with Zaza Ali, I mean, they've been, as far as I can see, they've been doing like steady work, no doubt. And like, very profound stuff as well, and like a voice that has definitely been necessary I'm just speaking from afar, because I can't hear and see everybody, from over here what's going on. But I know as these calamities or these atrocities have been happening in our communities all over America, I've consistently heard Griff and Zaza Ali speak prophetically on all of these issues, and not only to speak on them, but give resolution and solution as well, inspiration, all of that, So, yeah, I was just a bit surprised to hear, like, all of this, noise about, questioning Griff's, character, stuff like that or whatever.
Well,
again, no, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the scrutiny, if there's any scrutiny behind Professor Griff at this time, which myself, I don't scrutinize him, but if there is scrutiny on Professor Griff, it's because he's becoming more mainstream. And he's more. See, Professor Griff people know Professor Griff from being like, just a cat on YouTube. He's coming from rapping. Back in the '80s when Professor Griff was coming out, if you look back at his album, like his album was the last Asiatic Sons, or the last Sons of Asia or something. He's coming from that old school black Muslim Moorish 5%er underground New York type of thing, and and that's the vibe he's always carried. And now that he's become more mainstream, I mean, he goes on Alex Jones' show all the time, and I think that Alex Jones is cool with me, man. I got nothing against Alex Jones, but they go on there, and I think the people who remember Griff from back in the day, they're kind of like, what happened? I used to be able to call you. Now you're mainstream, and I think a lot of people kind of feel hurt by that a little bit. I don't know. I don't feel, so I think there could be a little bit of that to it, but I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not, with regards to the whole Alex Jones thing, like, I'll say this first. I saw that video live when it aired, and I'm sure that was at least 4 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So that would have been before, like, where he is right now. I think that's more to do with he hooked up with the goddess, yo. That's all that is. You know what I'm saying? Like, he hooked up with someone that equaled him, if not, like, surpass him, and the passion for, like, the people. I'm speaking of Zaza Ali. So I think if anything, since they connected from my perspective, My observation is, if his star has risen, it's due more to that divine feminine aspect that he's connected with. Not because he was on Alex Jones. But
Mhm.
speaking of that, and as I told you, I heard that when it aired live or whatever, and I've seen other packs like Modal Technique, KRS-One. They've all dropped in, and broke bread with Alex Jones or whatever. Um, I didn't really, think too much about it, whatever, I thought it was a bit kind of like clunky in a sense, like the interview or whatever. But I just remember, like, Professor Good actually, offered to, he was like, yo, Alex, towards the end of the interview, he was just saying, we should do something together, like me and you, make, do an album or something like that, he was saying. And Alex Jones kind of, like, agreed, like, how he would kind of half-heartedly or whatever. I thought that was interesting, and obviously nothing ever came out of that, but that one thought alone kind of, like, would lead me to other thoughts, like how you're saying people are kind of like looking at Griff right now. It's just interesting, man. Both Griff and KRS-One, because like even more so Griff, because I know he comes from that Asiatic perspective, as you were saying. I know he knows, but on top of that, I know that Alex Jones knows, and this is basically why, honestly, like Alex Jones is good for like his information on certain levels or whatever. But again, I'm one of the few, I don't know, like I could probably say I'm one of the few, at least black men in America that have been listening to this man from like he first came out. You know what I'm saying? I've actually evolved, like, with him, like as far as like, seeing his program evolve and all this shit like that. And I used to be like, yeah, this dude's like on point, he's on point. Whatever, he's a Christian, like, whatever all white people like in America mostly Christian and shit. But then as I begin to delve more deeper and deeper, I begin to realize, at the level this guy is, there's no way that he don't have access to all this information. He knows, that this whole United States of America is a fraud and shit. And what he is fighting for is not the same thing that we are fighting for. And I think that we have to understand that as those of us, again, who are quote-unquote African Americans, you know what I'm saying, whatever. If you choose to call yourself that and live under that banner, whatever, you have to understand that what Alex Jones and all these people are fighting for, even though on the surface it may appear that we're fighting for the same thing, equal justice, this, that, or whatever, but nah, they are fighting to keep their status, you know what I'm saying, and to keep us as African Americans, you know what I'm saying. They're happy to be white because, again, if you read these texts, I can like reel off like 15 books right now that articulate all this history of the Moorish nation before. You know what I'm saying? Like we brought them over during and after. And I'm telling you, they were not. We were the ones that were called white because that had a certain definition back then. You know what I'm saying? We were the ones that were white because we were like the pure, clean ones, like yada yada yada. Or whatever. So even that was flipped. That whole concept of color, when they started using the colorful language, that was flipped. But staying on point with regards to Alex Jones as it relates to Professor Wood, I'm saying it's very interesting because both of those guys are having a conversation, but they both know things that they are not saying. And always, I think Griff is there for like at least a good hour. You understand? And they're talking about all of these issues. But Griff being in the position that he was in, you know what I'm saying, and like understanding what he represents, which is basically every hood, every borough, throughout that country or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, people are gonna expect him to go in hard, like how he goes in whenever he's, on Blog Talk Radio and like he's doing his own shows or whatever. You know what I'm saying? That's what people were expecting. And so if you don't, if you don't bring that type of velocity, regardless of whatever forward you end, you know what I'm saying, then, yeah, I can see how people would begin to question that, question like his authenticity or whatever with regards to that. But having said that, that remains to be seen, to each his own, and maybe it's not Griff's place to, to fight that fight, and honestly, I never really hear Griff speak on regards to nationality and sovereignty and talking about the history of what we were, before, such and such time or whatever. That's not really what this does. So I don't even know if I can hold that to him. But I know that he understands and he knows that history.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. You hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, man. I don't,
Yeah.
if I was Griff, to be honest with you, man, I don't think I would want to be out there in the spotlight, like really like that, talking like that. If it was me, like if somebody had me on their show and all these people were listening, I don't think I want to be my fight either, man. To be honest with
Yeah.
you, that
Yeah.
you put yourself out there like that, man. You're gonna get a lot of heat, and I
Yeah.
think
You got to pick and choose your spots for sure.
people. Professor Griff, I heard him saying something one time. He was saying somebody he was talking to somebody on the phone. It was one of the YouTube videos, and he was saying something like, if they didn't respect the Indians' treaties, how would they respect your treaties? And so his position to me, like that stuff really doesn't work. Like the sovereignty stuff, that
Mm.
that's
Yeah.
I heard him say that he was saying that on the telephone to a woman. A woman was asking him about attempting to do something with sovereignty, and Griff said, "Yeah, hey, if they didn't respect the Indians' treaty, what makes you think they will respect your treaty?" And that's the most I ever heard him say on it. You know, he probably knows.
Yeah.
He probably grew up studying this stuff. He probably knows way more about it than I ever could. I mean, he grew up in an era.
Well,
Uh,
if based on that statement, if he's saying they didn't respect the Indians Treaty, that means that there's some history that he's actually missing, because when he's referring to the Indians Treaty, there were no Indian treaties. Those were treaties with the Moors and the Caucasians.
mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? There were no Indians. So if he's saying that they didn't respect the Indian treaties, then maybe, again, like that just would verify what I'm saying even more. Like, that's not his thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, he knows what he knows based on coming up through the Nation of Islam, and to some certain extent, the 5%, but more so the Nation of Islam. That's what he, like, consistently references from. But, I just think that, like, maybe that's not, he doesn't have the knowledge base per se, like, to get into those type of, like, sword fights on like, some, especially in somebody else's house and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, if Alex Jones came to, Professor Griff's broadcast or something like that, then, he would have a more open forum to, maybe get at him at deeper levels. But my whole thing about, again, going back to that, to wrap that up, I just think it was interesting that those two individuals having a conversation, and not with them or really speaking their minds and shit. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously, I don't know if you noticed about Alex Jones, but he's always generally different. His tone is always different. And I think it's very interesting. It's almost like a reverent towards any black host guest that he has on his show. Have you noticed that? You know what I'm saying? Or any guest that he will have, like, a color, he's almost like reverent, like he's like, revering towards him. So, like, he respects him more than like his average guest or whatever. Like, he's not cutting them off like every 2 seconds, and he's basically like giving them like giving them a certain courtesy that he doesn't normally extend like most of his average, big time guests and shit like that. I don't know if you ever noticed that.
I didn't, but he's cool, man. I used to listen. I used to listen to Alex back in the day. He came out with some good stuff. And I saw Jason Bermas come along on Infowars, and
yeah.
Infowars was different. It's changed so much, man. What it is now compared to what it used to be when I was listening to it, it's changed so much. But I come from.
I still checking. You know what I'm saying? I still checking. You know what I'm saying? Like, with certain information, they got it there. But I understand that, again, Alex Jones has his fight. And like his fight is to maintain the status of, that democratic, like thing they got going over there and stuff like that. Because, that's why you never really hear too much people talking about the Republic. Because anytime you talk about the Republic, that open up a can of worms. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And you got to start talking about all of those confederations and all of those conglomerates and agreements on paper contractually that were organized by us way before the United States was ever even a thought. That's what you have to get into. And that's what all these Alex Jones type and Tea Party types, you know what I'm saying? Like, these people on that level, they all understand and know this. That they're very lively here. Because, again, like when we were talking about those Britishers that were coming, first of all, the 13 colonies, the original 13 colonies, that apparently was England. You know what I'm saying? That was England. Those Moors that had came over here and brought and pushed all these people over here that was like undesirables and all this stuff like that. And they were the first ones to come over here with these slaves. That's what I'm saying. Like the good ship Jesus, like the first one of those ships that landed over actually on America, like North American soil. I can't remember the cat's name, but again, that was a black Moor. Oxymoron, but yeah, that was a black man and stuff. So it only fits into what you're saying more now that I understand this from even what your perspective of like how it's actually like there's black people that's controlling all of this on the top. Those ones like these boule type individuals who have been in power for like a long, long time, and they're the one pulling the strings. Similar to the situation, like I think about whatever with Tupac, whenever you're talking about that. Like the same thing that happened with Dave Chappelle, and like everybody was like, yeah, Oprah and that whole cabal got to him and told him to shut it down or whatever. And they were doing all kinds of shit to make sure that he didn't, have any more shine once he basically kind of, I guess, tried to go against them or something like that, He's just now starting to come back on the scene or whatever, like 6, 7 years later or some shit. But,
yeah. Nothing. I don't think too much would surprise me now, man. Like whatever it is, it wouldn't surprise me as much as a couple years ago I would have got surprised. Now I wouldn't be surprised, man. Whatever the story turns out to be, I don't think it would be as shocking to me as most people.
Yeah. Yeah, but let me ask you about this though, because this is something I really wanted to talk to you about. Some of your research, and but also, just cool because it just coincides with things that I observe as well, But you've done some research on this, what do you call it? Project Genesis. When you just recently put this out like a couple months back,
Yeah.
And that just like I was laughing. I was like, like even more. I was like, I got to connect with this brother, man, because it seems like he just resonates on the same frequency with a lot of things. So, because I have been noticing lately, the radio is a bit different over here. Like, because we hear a lot of the music from over there, all of the popular stuff. But we hear a lot of stuff from like UK, and other places like that, and kind of more dance oriented. But what I'm saying, man, there's so many songs going back to, from like Iggy Azalea. The first time I heard her 3 years back, I literally thought that was a black girl from like the South. You know what I'm saying? Like before I saw what I was listening to, I thought that was a black girl from the South. I'm like, yo, what's going on with that? But I really began to take notice back whenever Justin Timberlake first came out like solo. And Timberland produced like his first couple of albums, and I noticed how he basically was kind of like merged into Michael Jackson on that first album.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like even the tracks, the videos, everything was like Michael Jackson's first album and shit like that. I'm like, interesting. His voice, his cadence, everything, and like the floodgates just came from that. Already, Eminem, everything he did. But with regard to the pop and R&B, it was like the floodgates open to the point where I turn on the radio now, and I really have to like double check and listen hard to determine whether this is like, a black chick or a white chick. You know what I'm saying? Like I just think that's really interesting, and I think that's part of what you were getting at with your research into this Project Genesis. And so I just want you to talk about that, man, and then like kind of go into detail with that, because I think people really will find that research intriguing.
Well, I'm gonna put it like this. Me personally, like I've dated a lot. When I was growing up, I had more sexual relations with black women, like dark-skinned black women, brown-skinned black women, not too many light-skinned ones. So my foundation with my sexuality has started off with black women. Even though I lost my virginity to a white girl, I lost my virginity at 15 to a white girl that was 19. And then the second girl I was with was a Hispanic girl. Then after that, it was all black females for a few years. Then I started talking more to white females, and I noticed something. A lot of the white females that I would connect with, if I talk, see me, I sound white. I sound like a white person when I talk. And so if I sounded more white, the less likely they were to talk to me. And then when I started talking to them ignorant and talking to them basically like, basically kind of crazy, it was easier for me to have sex with them. And listen, dog, sometimes I used to do this a lot. I used to go on Craigslist on my phone, on my Android phone, and I'd be like, "Damn, girl, I like you got a fat ass and all this." I start talking to her crazy, and I ask her, does she only hook up with white boys and stuff like that? And I'd say stuff like that. And me, I look white, so it's kind of funny. I mean, I look mixed, but I'm, but so they would react to me. It'd be easier for me to hook up with them and to do stuff with them when I acted like that. And so that was pretty much the inspiration on the Project Genesis thing. And it because I had discovered that. And then, because when I was growing up, I've been to both. I grew up around all black neighborhoods and all white neighborhoods, and so I would see friends of mine, like I'd be watching people, and I'd be like, damn, how did Tyrone and Pookie get Becky's number that quick? You know what I mean? And then, but then at the same time, I would see white guys get Shanika's number really easy. I see two white guys like Tyrone and Pookie. It would take them a couple weeks to hook up with Shanika, but Tom and Jerry can hook up with Shanika in the same night. So I recognize that they've done something with the psychology to the races where they've made it so white girls are more prone to be with black or colored or Hispanic guys, and then black girls are more prone to be with white guys or lighter skinned guys, like lighter skinned Hispanic or something like that, And that was sort of how. And then the food is, if you look at go look at pictures of a white girl in Russia. Look how slim and petite they are. They look more like how the white women in America looked 100 years ago. If you look at the white women in America, they've been genetically enhanced. Their asses are way more fatter than they were even 50 years ago. And I think that has to do with
20 years ago.
That has to do with the steroids that they put in the food, that they put in the cows. They got the cows on steroids. Right. And then they got it to, I don't know how they're doing this, but they got it to where the black females either talk real white and straight, or they'll be like, whatever, and all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They'll be like, whatever. Yeah, that whatever. They always do that now. Whatever. And so, you see what I'm saying, man?
I'm feeling you, yo, 100%, definitely.
And so, just go on. You got a dating site. You got a Plenty of Fish dating site thing. You know how to get on there. Just go on there and put your picture on there, and just write random white girls, and be like, yeah. So you only do you only fuck with white boys? And just say that to her, and watch how she responds. And then take a picture of a white man. Then create a fake account, and take a picture of a white man, and make him look successful, and put him on there, and randomly contact black women and say, are you educated? Do you only talk to black men? And talk like that, and you can get them like that. See?
Yeah, that'll be an interesting social experiment.
Man. And so that's really what Project Genesis. That's what Project Genesis was about.
Yeah, and it's funny. Like again, like things like, literally, probably like within 24 hours of before you put that out, I think I sent you this link, yo. This situation happened with this Notre Dame teacher or something like that.
Yeah.
And you know about that, right?
Yeah, you sent it to me last night on Facebook. Remember?
Yeah. So boom. Immediately I'm like, yo, this dude is on to something, man. This is crazy. Because the first time when I saw it, I was like, yo, that is very interesting. But I'm going to tell you why, because, all right, man, since, we can get into this like later, like a later conversation or whatever. That'd be another topic more dealing with like the more spiritual side of things or whatever. Because most of what we've been talking about is all this material stuff or whatever. But you know what I'm saying? My whole thing is like I have an understanding of like as above, so below, and like the laws of the universe, which gives the background to our entire existence. And understanding how everything was created, from then to now, from above and below. Everything started with this blackness. So I began to form my own theory, as you can say, based on, again, the universal formulas, mathematical universal formulas. And I'm like, yo, hold on a second. It all begins and ends with blackness, no matter how you want to chop it up, out in space, inside the womb, on this planet, you know what I'm saying? Like everything, blackness has a certain how could you say, profile, like on every single level of existence. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So my whole thing, I started back in 2005, right before I came over here. I started on Live 365 radio station called Black Dot Chronicles or whatever, and this through listening to individuals like Dr. Blair and Dr. Valentine and Dr. Jewel Kukrum and like a host of others, and like just getting into the whole research, I began to develop my theory even more, just based on my own kind of observations. And I began to really understand that for anything to happen on this planet, if we are to, rise up above this particular paradigm, it all has to go back to blackness. You know what I'm saying? On a physical level, like, again, this is before I even knew anything about this all more stuff. I just understood that, like, the indigenous principles, the archetype, the blueprint that proliferated on this planet, from then to now, it's the only way that we're going to get out of this. There's nothing we can do within this system except for destroy it. You know what I'm saying? In order to raise us up out of this situation. So on the philosophical level, we have to go back and embrace the indigenous culture, indigenous philosophy. And on a physical level, I am telling you, and I've been, my wife, she's been like commenting on this, man, because like since I met her, like back in '06 or whatever, I've been having conversations with her before we were even married. I've been telling her that, when you start to see white people physically start to turn black, that will coincide with something that was happening earlier, because you start to see white people mentally inside their spirit actually turning black and embracing this dark matter consciousness. And mind you, this is back in 2006 when I started telling her this. And so from then to now, almost a decade later, I can name to you like the people like the Tim Wises of the world and all kinds of other people, white people, men and women of America that have just some spirit has arisen in them. And they're basically talking about all these atrocities, how basically all this white privilege and all of this shit like that. So you're seeing like the first signs of what I have already hypothesized and theorized or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So, that's what I say. That's what I'm saying. Like on top of all of this, whatever's going on or whatever, at the end of the day, we have to know and understand that it's up to us. It's not up to them. You know what I'm saying? They can only do so much. They need to get their own shit together. They need to embrace who they are and like begin to go through the process of basically, how could you say, changing, like, alchemically changing their very aspects of their nature, and so that they can actually be able to facilitate souls so that they can become forever beings. Because right now, as it stands, most of the Caucasians on this planet do not have souls, according to white and black individuals. Dr. Blair on one side, you know what I'm saying, and other, numerous white scholars who dabble on this, they will say the same. And this is all based on your ability to produce melanin. This is what when this whole concept of God and shit like that, if I can define it, it's basically whoever has the most melanin. You know what I'm saying? You have like all those depths of godness to you. You know what I'm saying? Because again, that is the substance. That is the medium that whoever the architect or the architects of this existence, of this universe, of the infinite verses or whatever, that is the medium that was brought forth in order to be the interface between all of existence on all levels. Before there was any movement out of creation, there was blackness. You understand? You know, like all holy books, this is what they say. In the beginning, there was blackness, yada, 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 in some shape or form or fashion. You know, the great abyss, you know, the waters of noon, they speak about it in the Egyptian mythology or whatever. But that just letting you know who we are and what the same blackness that you see when you look out into space at night, that cosmic melanin, you have to understand we are in our very cells. You know what I'm saying? We have those same molecules.
Oh, okay, but see, I feel where you're coming from, but why is it that, okay, when people are in the sun, then they get dark, but when the people have no sun and it's all blackness, then they get pale and get white?
So, I'm sorry, say that again?
If somebody has no sun and they're just in all
right.
darkness, they turn pale. Even somebody dark skinned, if they get out of the sun for a long time, they will eventually get lighter. If they're just stuck in a room somewhere, a dark room, all darkness makes you whiter, but the sun, but brightness and sun makes you darker.
So this is how it works. Okay, so like I'm saying before, everything, all the colors, all the spectrums that we can visually see, and even the ones that we can't see, they all emanate from black. That's a scientific fact. So, and so much in the sense that black is not even color. They've given it the distinction of a shade. So black is not even a color. You know what I'm saying? But all these colors emanate from blackness. So if you take, for instance, like, you know, a black person, you put them in that dark room, and you take a white person, you put them in that dark room, there are going to be physical, like obvious physical, you know, differences with regard to one going darker or lighter or whatever. But the only difference is the ability, the capacity to change from that current state to whatever state is necessary in order to proliferate. That's what I'm telling you. That's what melanin does. You know what I'm saying? So even though we don't like, we're not naturally we're not naturally drawn to cold climates, you know, because we're tropical people, like, you know, melanated people, whatever. But obviously we can adapt. You know what I'm saying? Melanin is adaptable. Melanin is ever changing. You know, you realize, yo, they and I got this jewel off of Dr. Jewel Pookrum way back in the day. You know, because she was a doctor or whatever. And she said that there's this book, and you can look it up. It's called Every Year, all these doctors get together, yo, and apparently they're spending billions and billions of dollars every year researching the melanin molecule, something that none of them have, right? And so, and what she said, this was a long time ago, over a decade ago, I'm sure it's advanced ways can stem, but what she said is that whenever, the reason why you don't see melanin as an element on the periodic chart is because they can't isolate it. You know, at least all the elements that they're showing us, you know what I'm saying, that they're like making us available that they know about or whatever, they all have constants. Like under every single condition, they all break down, you know, this many atoms, you know, molecules, hydrogens, or whatever. When they try to isolate melanin and using that same formula, like if you're looking under a microscope, it's like it's there for like a half a second. It's just like it's vibrating like so fast and shit. And then it literally just disappears right in the microscope. This is a melanin molecule. So what that tells me is that melanin is multidimensional. The reason why it can't be isolated because it's not of this plane, of this dimension. You know what I'm saying? So that's one key indicator. And on top of that, you have to understand that melanin is in every single organ of the body. You know what I'm saying? All the major organs, you know, and all the cells, everything, it's all melanin. But the only difference is, and this is so beautiful as well, and this just goes along with my theory, because we all have the capacity. It's like a battery, like you know, the battery in your car, right? It has battery cells in it. Well, the Creator has equipped it as such that we all have that battery pack. Only difference is all the cells are not charged in all the inhabitants of the planet based on the amount of melanin that you have. Okay, so the nine ether, like the Sudanese, and like the South Indians, you know what I'm saying, which are both blacker than black. That's another story. Like I went to India, and I swear to God, we were in Pondicherry, and we walked out, man. And it was on the beach, and literally, it was like Freaknik in the ATL. That's the only thing I can compare it to. Where like for a mile either way, you saw nothing but like just some black people that you've ever seen before, yo. You know what I'm saying? I was shocked, like I thought most of the black people were in Africa and shit until I went to India. So I sidetracked. But what I'm saying is that so the blacker you are, the darker you are, the more of that battery pack, the more of those cells will be filled. So basically you have like the darkest fully functioning, and you have the lightest, which is barely functioning, recessive or whatever. But they have the capacity to initiate all of those cells to function. That's their destiny. And that's why I say, that's how I know that in order for everything to evolve into unison, we have to go back to black, as Amy Winehouse so eloquently stated. You know what I'm saying? We have to go back to black there. That's the only way. And when you see, as you see, like I say, these individuals like Kim Wise, the most famous one, and other individuals that resonate towards that true indigenous spirit and soul, you're going to understand that things are really changing. You see that now. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it has to go back to black. But to answer your question, black absorbs everything. Like carbon filters is another example of how melanin works on a physical level. Mm-hmm. Carbon filters, like it comes in one thing, it absorbs like whatever on one side, and it spits it out as something else. That's what melanin does. Like, there's nothing that melanin cannot absorb and transmutate into positive energy. And that's what all of this is about. Like that's why all of this lineage, all of this, like why everybody in history knows it as the true like descendants of the Most High and shit like that. Is because of this melanin. That's what I figured out. You know what I'm saying? But going back to, go ahead.
No, I was saying, I feel where you're coming from, but you know what though, man? Like when you look at check this out though, the Irish people, right? I was seeing this thing where it was British people back in the early 1900s, and they were showing pictures of Irish people next to black people, and then they were comparing the British person, and they were saying that they were trying to category the Irish people, as they were saying the Irish people had the status of Negro. Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen that?
You know why that is?
Why?
I haven't seen that, but I know that Irish people have always had that distinction, and I always wondered why. But a couple people, I think you said that you got I saw in one of your clips the other day, you said that you had got an email from Michael Tsarian with regards to that other like Philly issue or whatever. But if you go back and look at Tsarian's work, and it's like Dr. Blair was the first one I heard to give this information or whatever. But basically, Ireland has a direct connection with Egypt, the 18th dynasty of Egypt. Just so happens that we were already set up over there, like the whole, once the planet split, we just separated, and then, we fucking found each other again. So come to find out, Akhenaten was sending, like, daughters over, to marry, like, like, Druidic, like princesses and shit, based on ties that we've had from, like, tens of thousands of years ago. So Dr. Blair speaks on that, and also your boy Michael Tsarian, he did a whole lecture, and he talked about all of that stuff, and that's one of the things that he speaks on. So they understand, again, like I was telling you, you don't have to go back for a couple hundred years, and it's all black in Europe, everywhere.
Well, I remember Michael Tsarian was saying something about Scotland was named after the Princess Scotia, and Scotia was one of the daughters of Ramses or something like that.
Yeah, man, look, I'm telling you, what he's saying is true, because check this out. I was just watching this in the past couple of weeks, some of my research. You did know King James was a black man, right? You seen that any documentation on that?
Mm-mm. I you know what, man? Out of all the research I ever done, I never the furthest I ever got into King James was just that his name was on the King James Bible.
Yeah, well, this is all recent research to me, like the past couple of months, yo. Because the only thing I ever heard about King James was that he was a homo white guy who, forged the Bible and shit. I was like, what I heard about King James. Come to find out, yo, and this coincides with what you're saying about the whole Scotia thing. King James' father and his mother, obviously, again, both black Moors. All the pictures, documentation, everything's online. But his father was murdered when he was a kid, assassinated, but they never go into details why. His mother was, I think she was the ruler for a minute, but he was the youngest ruler ever in Europe. He was when he was a baby because they ended up killing his mom as well. So he was the first king of Scotland. He was the sixth king of England, and he was the king of Ireland all at the same time. Historic fact. King James, a black Moor. In fact, this version of the Bible that they're giving us, so that's not even the version that he sanctioned. They hoodwinked it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, look, check it out, man. I'll send you the clip, just stating exactly what I'm saying. You'll be flabbergasted. That's how I'm saying, man. The saga continues. It seems to be all coming back to this whole Moorish legacy, yo.
Guess who else? Guess who else is black that they don't tell you about?
Who's that?
J. Edgar Hoover.
Yeah, I heard he's a Moor as well.
Go back to his photograph and study his photograph. The story is he's mixed. He's mulatto, but that's the same thing. That's basically black because in America, if you have one drop, this is the way the laws were written. They said if you had one drop of Negro blood, you were black. That's the law in America. That's how it was, at least when the Constitution came along. Then they said if you were black, you were only considered by law to be 1/3 of a man. That's what they.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what right. But if you go back and you look at J. Edgar Hoover, he's black, man. Look, just study him. He looks white at first, but study him real good, because there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in the South who were black, but they could blend in with white people.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people who can blend in, and so they would just take off and go up north. They'd go to New York City or Chicago or go out west, and they would assume the position of a white person, but they were really black. But a lot of white people couldn't really. The white people in the South know how to look for it, but the white people up in Canada and all those, they don't know what to look for. Like here in Michigan, white people don't really look for that, but in the South they do. They know how to look for that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think I heard Taj Tariq Bey break that down as well.
Mm-hmm.
He was saying that, and he was just making the correlation how J. Edgar Hoover had a decree to never allow the rise of another black Messiah. But then he just made the distinction that Taj made the distinction that he wasn't necessarily talking about another Moorish Messiah. He was just saying basically those ones who sold out, the original Moors, Algonquin Moors of North America or whatever. That's what he was trying to snuff out, like those fucking sellout turncoat motherfuckers and shit, yo. That's basically what I was getting from what Taj Student Day was saying, and I thought that to be very interesting. Because I've seen pictures of Hoover with his Moorish fez on and everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, me too. And going back to that, before they used to be the Bureau of Investigation, and that goes back to Noble Drew Ali and all that stuff. Remember Noble Drew Ali?
Yeah, I do, man. I've been, slowly but surely getting caught back up on his whole, which is very significant, his contribution to all of this,
Yeah, I don't know too much about Noble Drew Ali other than what I've heard from Taj and a lot of those guys. I mean, I got a copy of the Seventh Circle Quran. I've read through it and I've listened to a lot of the different stuff online about who he is. I've done some reading on him and stuff, but the Moorish Science Temple seems to be very interesting, but they don't seem to be who they were back then, though. The Moorish Science Temple, as a commercial place.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah. They sound like two.
So have you been there? I'm sure you visited that a few times, huh?
Mm-mm. Hell no. I just know a lot of people who I met throughout my life. I've met a lot of different people who are Moors, and they would have the last name of Bay, Bey. Like if you go look at the
Yeah.
Moors, they always got
Yeah.
like a Bay name or something. And I'd be like, man, why is your name Bay?
Yeah.
And they would explain to me, well, I'm a Moor, and they would explain to me, the history and stuff. And they usually wear a little pin. Like if you've seen the, it's very underground, man. In America, not too many people even know what it is,
Yeah.
the Moorish Science Temple is. But oftentimes they'll have a little pin, like the red pin with the star or whatever. And I mean, I always used to see the Vice Lords of Chicago. There's a street gang in Chicago called the Vice Lords, and they use the same symbolism as the Moors. And when I was growing up, I saw a lot of people who were Latin kings or Vice Lords or GDs and stuff like that. But the gang, the Vice Lords, they hold all the same symbols that the Moors use. So I always used to be like, why? I used to be like, what the hell? Why is a street gang flaunting the same symbols of a religious organization? And somehow that's all caught up with the masonry stuff, but the pyramid and the cane and all that, and so the Moors, caught my interest on that level. But I never, to me, joining an organization like joining the Moors, that's not for me. I don't do that, man.
Yeah.
I don't want to be, I don't know, I don't know what's up and who's running the show and what's going on. I don't want to be attached to that, you know.
Yeah.
Next
So
thing
as far as that, more science simple and all of that shit, you know what I'm saying? Nah, you don't need to. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you know the knowledge, you know the knowledge and shit. You go about the business of, getting your national, because sovereignty and nationality are completely different as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So you can try to claim your sovereignty and you still be under their jurisdiction, because that has to do with currency anyway. It has nothing to do with like status.
If you know what, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. If you really know that stuff, if you really, like, you yourself, you sound extremely knowledgeable. If you really know that stuff, and you come across a judge or you come across, a police officer, and you show them respect, but at the same time you demonstrate that you are very aware and knowledgeable, as long as you're showing respect to them, a lot of times they'll give you they'll agree with you. I've seen that happen. Well, they're.
Well, I mean, if you know your math, they have no choice because to be subject to you and what you're saying, because then you put them in your proper jurisdiction. They can make it more difficult for you if you're being unruly and stuff like that. They can harass you and all other means and stuff or whatever, but they're going to be less inclined to provoke you if you're truly on your square and standing as a national as opposed to a citizen of the United States government. That I know. I've seen that, for sure.
I think a lot of people I think the downfall of a lot of people is they get caught up in the paperwork game, where they think the UCC, the Uniform Commercial Code, is their right to freedom, and they get caught up in the paperwork game, and then when they deal with the corporate entities and they deal with stuff in the real world, they get approached and they say, you got to fill out this paper, you got to fill out that paper, you got to fill out that paper, and it turns into a game of people running around talking about UCCs and doing paperwork and all that stuff. If you're truly a sovereign entity, you don't need a UCC. I mean, you can UCC.
Yeah, but check what I'm saying, though. Check what I'm saying. A sovereign has everything to do with the status quo. That falls under the nation-state corporate structure, yo. A national does not. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So all of these cats running around here dealing with the UCC, they're only solidifying their position under the jurisdiction of the United States.
Right. Exactly.
Either you're a national or you are not. There is nothing in between. You don't have to prove anything when you're a national. You don't have to. Obviously, you have to, document that you are in your proper status, as a national and shit like that. But all of this running around, that's not necessary. Well, you're only basically giving them like carte blanche to continue on as they've been.
Right. Well, my point is, a lot of people get approached. A lot of people end up having to go to court. They end up in a situation, and they pull out some paperwork, and they say, "Well, this paperwork entitles me to be a sovereign Moor." And the people that deal with you, they're going to be able to look at you and tell if you're for real or not. If you're sitting there talking about some paperwork, if you're sitting there talking about some paperwork, they're going to know that they're just going to go along with you to the point to where they can catch you in something and catch you off guard with something that you don't know how to respond to. But if you truly believe, if you truly have these beliefs, if you really believe, it's all about your belief system. If your beliefs are strong enough to back that up, then they're going to honor that and respect you as long as you're kind. As long as you're respectful and you're kind, they're going to honor you because they see it's not in the paperwork, it's in you.
Exactly, and it's so funny because that's what all the brothers that I respect on this particular issue, which are only three, Taj Tariq Bey, that we mentioned his name multiple times. Also, Asir, the Duke of Tears, I've mentioned his name a few times as well. And it's one other brother, his name is Spontaneous L. All of these brothers, they have shown and proven through their acts and deeds, who they really are. But they all echo what you just said. They said it's not really about this paperwork. You have to know who you are. You know what I'm saying? You have to know your history and stand on that shit, above anything else. The paperwork is basically the legacy that our ancestors left us so we can have paper trail to get, breadcrumbs to get back to who we really are. But until and unless we understand our lineage, and our true nature and who we are in America and who we are on the planet and as universal children of the Most High, That's what, from my perspective and everything that I've seen. And these brothers that I, look up to when it comes to this knowledge, you know what I'm saying? They basically all say that, Taj Tariq Bey is so knowledgeable with regards to paperwork and documentation and all of that. But as I'm saying to you, he will tell you, you know what I'm saying? That's just like the legwork or whatever. You got to know your history. If you don't know your history, you don't know where to even start or where to begin, really. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And the thing, another big thing I think is back in the South years ago, if you talk about plantations, I've heard a concept that if you talk about slavery, I know you in the topic you came in with the thing about the Moors of the North versus the Moors of the South, the Ottoman Empire, but I'm gonna interject. I've heard this said before that the concept of slavery from the plantation to the North was a transfer. No longer did slavery happen on the plantation. Now it ended up in the industrial age, in the corporate age, where you get taxed and stuff like that. It's a slavery that's on paper through the birth certificate. And I think a lot of time in today's world, people want permission to seek knowledge. Like when you talk about no matter what color they are, people want to get told that they have permission to be what they want to be instead of actually pursuing it because that's who they know they are. They need people, and I hate to say this, man, but in America, if you're black, not all the time, but a lot of times, people want permission from a white man to be able to do something. It could be subconscious. They might not even know they have it in their mind. Obviously, you're different. Obviously I'm different. Obviously, we're different people. But to the general public, why do you think it is so many young guys now, still to this day, why do you think there's so many young black guys who will sag their pants, go get a gun, sell some dope, and go to jail? Is that really who they want to be? I don't think so. I think it's subconscious. They're waiting for somebody to give them permission to be who they really want to be, and until they're given that permission, they're going to keep making the same mistakes. That's the type of slavery that black people are in America now. Is subconscious and subliminal. They don't even know they're in slavery. They're waiting for a white man with They're waiting for a white man with a suit and tie to tell them that it's okay to be themselves. That's never going to happen. So,
Yeah, or either that or they're waiting, for their God to come save them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the fallacy. To me, that's between those two things, just like the willful ignorance or just like the dependency on your religion, and using that as a crutch. That's what I see as a major problem,
Right, because that's not the white man's position. His position, if he has to tell you that, then that's confirming that he has power over you. That's just further confirmation.
Exactly.
You see,
and especially all of these ones in power, they know. All these white boys in power, they understand. Who our true legacy or whatever. So again, it only serves them to keep us in this particular state of bondage or whatever. And speaking of which, it's interesting because again, like I was telling you before, there was three Moors that were on the scene right at the end of the Civil War that had basically what do you call them, like trusts that they were setting up in order to bring Moors back into their national status so they can claim all of their inheritance in the state and all that stuff like that. Meanwhile, on the other side, the U.S. government were going about the business of enlisting all of these Moors, that were, basically had given up all of their rights to everything when they decided not to, when we were making all of the confederations and we were signing all the articles and all of these international agreements and stuff like that to protect us against what these European wars were doing with this whole slavery thing or whatever, against the prosecution. Because again, like I'm telling you, King James had issued a national decree, international decree that the slavery shit was out. You know what I'm saying? It was no more cease and desist immediately. And so these cats were still doing it on a sly or whatever. And again, it will be the same preachers that they enlisted and gave this false power to or whatever in order to trick us into this 14th Amendment status whenever Abraham Lincoln came with the 13th Amendment prior to that. And as I said, he took 2 shots to the dome for that, trying to set us up like that or whatever. And ever since then, they have basically murdered every single Moor they could that they couldn't convert from then to now. You know what I'm saying? But they murdered us now with more so of keeping the truth from us and keeping us caught up in what you're saying and just this state of a lifetime of passiveness and not ever questioning or wondering or desiring anything more than what is offered to us by this establishment. You know what I'm saying? Or, just settling on this religion and, just waiting on God to save us or something or whatever,
You ever heard of Mosley Bay? Mosley Bay? He's with he breaks down real big into etymology, but he hangs around Taj and all them. But he goes on tours, man, and he does lectures where he says that black people created Freemasonry, and that black people were the founders of Freemasonry, and white people are the preservers of Freemasonry. They're preserving it, but the black people were the founders. But he does a big, huge presentation all about Masonry, where he shows how it came from the ancient Kemet and all that stuff, and black people. He even shows quotes where there's white people saying this stuff back in the 1800s, where there's white people who were saying that. And I'm almost always surprised, out of all the people who show up to watch his show, they don't even look interested, man. They don't even, there's out of a room full of 20 people, 4 people will look interested out of 20 people, and the rest of them, it's there's people out there showing people this stuff, man. That's why.
Therein lies the problem, That's the problem right there. Even when you put it in our face, we got so many distractions right now, mostly self-inflicted distractions that, it's just like entertainment, you know what I'm saying? Mental masturbation or something, in one ear and out the other, It's ridiculous.
But then you got
But I can actually.
Go ahead, man.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, based on, I was gonna co-sign what you were saying about Mosley Bay, I've been lecturing on, based on the research that I've been doing. This is all recent over the past couple of months that I've actually gotten back into this. And I'm telling you, man, what he's saying, I can really co-sign that. You know what I'm saying? Based on the research that, we basically, we created this for ourselves. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to have to get out of it for ourselves. We're going to have to wake up at some point and really realize what's going on and take some action. This is what got us into the situation. My whole point is that it was basically black on black crime. And again, all the white boy has done is flip the script. He's made our script theirs and vice versa. That's exactly what happened. They were supposed to hold on to this for us. We set up basically like a receivership. You know what I'm saying? We transfer the physical estate and we transfer the spiritual inheritance, through the knowledge via the Freemasonry system. That's what we did. I told you earlier, Freemason literally, if you go back and look at, just the literature of like the fucking late 1800s, 1900s or whatever, you will see that term Freemasonry, as it was first conceived, literally meant son of a Mason. You know what I'm saying? A Mason was son of a Mason. A Freemason was then ultimately, that's the term they gave them after the war, after all of the agreements that we had put on record that ultimately led to the formation of the United States government. That was basically the receivership documents, yo. They were supposed to hold on to this for us. You know what I'm saying? And whenever they murdered Abraham Lincoln, whatever, he put that 13th Amendment, you know what I'm saying, into the Constitution, whatever, which connected, that 13th Amendment connected all the other agreements that we had on this soil prior to the white man ever being a thought. You know what I'm saying? We were already making agreements and arrangements, forming confederations and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Making congresses based on those confederations and forming laws, international laws based on those confederations way before the white boy ever came to play. And when he came into play, as our proxies. Just like they have proxy wars right now, the U.S. uses all these other Arab countries or whatever to do their bidding. Exactly what we were doing everywhere. But it all came to a head right here in America. You know what I'm saying? The first wars were not fought against the North and the South over some slavery shit, as they are putting it. It was fought between the indigenous Moors of North America and those Moors that we allowed to come over to our lands, which ended up fucking shit up. And we basically had to go to war against them because we had different philosophies. They were fighting, you know what I'm saying, from over there about kingship and rulership or whatever, and we were still holding true to the laws that had extended all the way back from Lemuria and Mu. And that's how we knew that we were all like gods and goddesses or whatever, let alone kings and queens. So we shared everything. You know what I'm saying? And I'm telling you, those same, like I promise you, just without knowing, if you do a blood test, these cats like Jesse Jackson and all of these, the who are black political boule establishment and entertainment or whatever, you know what I'm saying, business. If you do their blood test, I bet they go back to these same ass Moors who we let over here, that came over here fucking shit up with these white slaves.
Yeah, that's what I think.
So we felt sorry for them. You know what I'm saying? So we gave them an out. On top of that, they began to literally, they would run from like the brothers down there in South America where we gave them like free stay just on the coast or whatever to do their thing. They would run from them up into Central America and again, ultimately up into North America. And when they basically became a problem that we had to deal with, so much to the fact that we had to bring them in and civilize them and show them the ways and marry them into our cultures and all of this shit. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why the pictures you see now, these motherfuckers, they call Native Americans, which were agreements that these half-breed indigenous made with the United States government to get this status or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because I always wonder, I'm like, how in the hell this entire fucking country, speaking of America, was still to the brim, and not just America, but the entire continent, North and South America, you know what I'm saying? Filled to the brim with indigenous Native American Indians and shit. You mean to tell me the only way that I can see an Indian, some semblance of an Indian, if I go to like New Mexico or somewhere in Arizona? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's the only place you can see an Indian. That shit always baffled me. I'm like, how is that possible? Did they really murder that many motherfuckers with a trail of tears back to truck? Did they murder like, tens of hundreds of millions of fucking Native Americans in that short amount of time? It don't make any sense.
Well, listen.
So what happened was.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. Well, I was gonna. Oh, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, just real quick to cap this off. So what happened was they basically, started shipping us down the river, like these POWs and stuff like that, into what would be indentured servitude or forced labor or whatever. But the first slaves, no doubt, were these people. And so as we fell, because of black-on-black crime, war against each other, whatever, and we turned over this receivership, both physically and spiritually or whatever, the knowledge and the actual land, for them to hold for us. They basically plotted, and made sure that we would never get it back. And that's why I think that whole EP, again, this whole reptilian aspect comes into play, and why they've been able to hold it for such a long time.
Listen to this, man. That book, Michael Cesarian came out with a book called something about civilization or ancient Atlantis and the genetic manipulation of humans or something. And I had downloaded it on PDF a few years ago, and I read it. And man, there's so many references to when people started moving out west, when the pioneers, from Europe or whatever that were here, they were finding Egyptian artifacts like up in the mountains and stuff like that. They were finding like when they did that George Washington Monument or whatever. They would find stuff, man. They found Egyptian artifacts. They found Assyrian tablets in the rivers and stuff. They found that's not even mentioning the mounds with the giants buried inside of them. You ever hear about that?
Yeah, definitely, man.
Yeah.
Like, this whole entire complex is out there, and apparently, like, there's entire fucking cities that are pristinely preserved in some of these caves and caverns and shit, A lot of this, I've read about that before, but I'm just more so, like, picking back up on that, because it's just, like, again, clarifying a lot of this research, again, with regards to the Moors and our true lineage and true connection, and how long we've actually been here. And I say here again, I mean on the soil of what they called, North America. And we've been there for a long, long time, for sure. That's without a doubt. You know what I'm saying? Because not only that, Hebrew writings and artifacts and all kinds of shit, And like Indian, like South Indian, Hindu writings and all of this. And it all fits in with the story. You know what I'm saying? So basically, the Indians were basically the last ones to come over, because like when these were like these the Brahmin clan, and they like all have like this Aryan like link or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So they brought this whole superiority type of like racial type of thing to the whole thing or whatever. So we kicked them out. Apparently, we kicked them out of India, and they ended up coming over here. And we, again, like, invited them in and shit like that. And they ended up mixing with then not only what was mixed of, like, the Caucasian that was here, but also they began to mix or whatever as well. That's why the Indians, you see them with the straight hair and all that shit like that. Like, basically if you see, like, a Native American's hair, what they call Native American, you see, like, an Indian's hair or whatever, they would look very similar, the texture and, like, tone and all that stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
So, like, basically, what you see now, again, what they call Native Americans are completely different. Again, this is the type, this is a status under the corporate system or whatever. You know what I'm saying? They agreed to take that status and be given, like, some fucking reservations out in the middle of nowhere and a bunch of casinos and firewater, you know what I'm saying, in order to, to shut the fuck up, basically.
Yeah. They basically got signed out. They basically cashed out on them and got to do all that stuff. Man. But when native people there's a lot of native people. They'll say I'm native, but they'll have Christian names. They'll have like a name like they won't have Indian names. They'll have Christian names. And when you adopt a Christian name, that's basically losing your sovereignty. That's political, because if you have a Christian name, that's basically saying you're property of the Christian organization. See what I'm saying?
Right.
So they what they did to the Indians, they didn't just get the Indians to sign some piece of paper for land. They got them to change their names. They got them to
and it's status,
lose their clothes and have white people's clothes and put the bow and arrow down and pick up right. They didn't just. It wasn't about a piece of paper. They slowly but surely changed their whole reality to when it did come time to sign a piece of paper. It's like you might as well. You got their names. You got their religion. You got it.
Yeah, definitely everything, man. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, there's just so much, even though, I'm sure we both done like quite a bit of research or whatever, but I don't know about you, man, but to me, I just feel like I'm just barely scratching the surface of this stuff, man. Like, and it's really, exciting to me at the same time. It's just like, it's quite enlightening to be able to go back through and like find these pieces of the puzzle to put them together and then, kind of figure out from there what's going on right now, you know. But like I said, I mean, the more, no matter which way I go with this, the one thing that I becoming more abundantly clear is that, we have to be who we are, and we are not like citizens of some fictitious, establishment that suppresses everything natural and true about life. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what it is. This is the opposite of life. This is the entire establishment is the complete opposite of what life is when you define life based on natural principles. You know what I'm saying? And the very basis of life is masculine and feminine principles coming together and harmony, and then creating like perpetual offspring of that same principle. Now we're to the point where it's basically mandatory to accept all these other sexual categories and stuff like that, and they're trying to say like whatever the LGBT, like all of that stuff like that or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like I just, since I've been over here, this is a phenomenon that definitely has grown to its peak since I've been over here, grown to its apex. This whole like gay rights phenomenon and all this stuff like that. I don't know what you think about that, but me personally, I'm like, you can do whatever you want to do. But there's a couple of things. Like, I always base everything on, again, natural law and, like, how life progresses, on this planet and throughout time and space or whatever. Like, I'm just like, you can get married or marriage and you can call it whatever you want, but there has to be a distinction, because, again, I have a 6-year-old daughter, and I just think about it, like, as she's growing up, there's no way that she can think that two homosexuals coming together and doing whatever they're doing is the exact same and the exact outcome as two heterosexuals coming together and doing whatever they're doing. At the purest or the most rudimentary, mundane aspect of, why people come together. You know what I'm saying? And it's like everywhere you turn, it's like, my favorite, I'm like big on sci-fi, I'm telling you, everything I watch, like my favorite sci-fi shows, they all got some like homosexual like little storyline in it that really has nothing to do with the plot and shit,
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's cool, you know what I'm saying? But like, I just feel like, why is this agenda so strong? Why can't you just say like, okay, you people can do whatever you want to do, that's fine, everybody can each their own. But why do you have to force this whole agenda, down everybody's throat? Like, if I disagree with, this whole thing of, like, I say that, you can do whatever you want to, but don't tell me that this shit is, like, natural or whatever. That's my thing. When you start talking like that, you know what I'm saying, then we got a problem. You know what I'm saying? But, because most of the television that I watch, like, it's obviously, Australia is basically like a carbon copy of America. They basically have really nothing of their own, like all the businesses, everything from like sports to entertainment. It's basically like American branded all over.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm saying everything that's on over there plus everything that's on over here, it's all the same shit, all the same shit. It's like they get their marching orders and then they produce certain types of shows, and that becomes the status quo.
Yeah, it's pretty tripped out. It's got pretty tripped out all over.
But yeah, man, it's just an interesting game out there anyway, bro. But yeah, like I mean, at the end of the day, I just think that as we grow and just begin to like actually request through our inner selves, our higher self, to the universe, like to gain clarity and be like upright about who we are, like on this journey and stuff like that. I just think it becomes more clear. But I'll just say this last thing as well with regards to on that particular topic. Like just the series of interviews that you did with Jordan Maxwell. I'm not even going to get into like a whole other thing that like that
Yeah, I don't.
include after that.
Hey, bro.
But
Hey, bro. I don't want to get. I don't want to talk about that guy, man. Because if I talk about him, what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be attaching the situation to you, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to attach that energy to whatever you're doing. I'm gonna leave it. I had my experience with him, and I'm gonna leave it at that, man. I don't want to talk about that guy.
yeah, no, definitely, I'm not even going to talk about that. I would just say this one thing, and just really giving props to you, like just like the energy that I see that you possess. Because I mean, I've seen a lot of different interviews like over the years, but I just think that you brought something so like interesting out of him through those interviews based on your energy that I've never heard before, yo. And that's all. That's how I know. That's how when I really recognized that you had a very pure energy about you before. Because I'm telling you, I've seen and heard like hours of like this guy or whatever, and it's just like I've never heard him so comfortable. You know what I'm saying? And so just eager to like flow with the dialogue and stuff like that. So yeah, just that's all I'll say on that, man. Just like really big ups to you for like like all your research. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I've at this point I've like peeped quite a few of your research of materials. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's quite vast, yo. You know what I'm saying? You cover quite a lot of material. I mean, like really the material that you cover. You know what I'm saying? We haven't even really touched on like a lot of the things that I've seen you cover. You know what I'm saying? And that's just like I would say that's just like a like representative of how dynamic and like how like introspective your range is when it comes to all these topics.
Yeah,
So,
bro. Well, I passed the love and light to you and respect and everything to you for studying truth and knowledge and connecting with me, man. I'm really glad that we got to we talk on Facebook and all that stuff. It's cool to be able to come across you and us be able to connect. Even though you're in Australia, we still got to connect like this, And so I think that I think that's cool, man. That we were able to connect, and I appreciate I appreciate your your awareness and your support and all that stuff. And hopefully we can do this again. I know this time you had got the calling card to do it or whatever. Next time I'll do it. Next time I get the card.
Yeah, no doubt, yo.
Yeah.
We'll keep this going and like really, a bit more. I mean, like I say, man, I'm not just really honestly. I just wanted to break bread with you because I realized that for some reason we were on like the same trail of research at the same time because I kept crossing you in my research. I'm like, yo, this dude is like he's reading my mind or something. I got to connect with this cat, and like really, I think we can just have through our conversations we can probably enlighten ourselves along with hopefully like a few other people who are into the truth and like really who they are as spiritual beings on this planet and all the history that we have as well. So just for the record, just because I want people to really funnel toward the work that you're doing. You know what I'm saying? And I got my thing going as well, but we can deal with that later. That's not even what this is about. But right now, Jameel Rawls research, you know what I'm saying? Like, Jameel, you can let everybody know for yourself, like, basically where to go to get some of the material that we've spoken about today and also some other things that you may have bubbling, or, actually on the cooker right now.
Yeah, or they can just, they'll, they can just Google my name and my Facebook, they contact me. Somebody wants to, shoot out a holler or something, they can contact me through Facebook or, if they want to see some of my videos or whatever, they can watch them on YouTube. You're gonna put this on YouTube?
Yeah. I'll put it in all of the, the regular forums and stuff like that. So, but yeah, like I said, I'll also send you a copy, like in its totality, and you can chop it up, however you want to,
right,
as it relates to whatever you're going to be doing moving forward as well,
Right. Well,
me personally.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, man.
No,
for the people listening, I would say instead of trying, I was tell people instead of trying to look for the light, the best thing they can do for themselves is to become the light.
Mm.
If that makes sense. Once you become the light, then you don't have to look for it.
100%.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. So I would interpret or translate that as on one aspect you can only be who you are, and secondly we have to stop looking outward for our answers. It seems like like society is set up where all of the answers seem to be like separate from us. That's how society has it set up. But based on what you said, that light is that inner light, and from that, then we can emanate outward from that, So that's how I interpreted it. Anyway, I don't know if I, came close to what you were actually saying or not, but that's how I interpreted that.
Yeah, that's what I meant. We all have that energy about us. That universal energy, and through an inward journey, whatever excites you, go after it. I've been learning. See, historically, I was into conspiracies. I'm starting to step out of that. I'm starting to get more into like, the healing stuff, meditation, astral travel and stuff.
Right.
So, I'm expanding. Before I was looking for the conspiracies to expose the light to me. Now I'm starting to learn that the light is within me, and so my journey has changed a lot because of that. But it took me 10 years to get to where I'm at now. But that doesn't mean that the conspiracy stuff is wrong to look into. If that's what excites you, you should pursue it because that may be your journey. You know. So my
Yeah.
transition, I got a big transition going on right now, where I'm changing. I'm very interested in the Tupac stuff, but other than that, my research is changing. But hopefully we can do this, man. Hopefully maybe we can do one of these every month or every 5 weeks, 6 weeks or something.
Yeah, no, definitely, man, for sure. We can just, maybe get, the topics more organized, and like actually, give the people like, a more potent dose of based on exactly what you're saying. Just because I feel like, yeah, I mean, we must be like kindred spirits in that aspect because, I mean, for me, for some reason in my life, man, I've always only known like the inner journey. Like everything that as far as like what I know, as far as like the spirit level and the soul experience based on my natural experience, that's all internal. These are all like inner workings. I know everything about. I never even knew the term natural law, universal law, but my life experience showed me like emphatically every single aspect of universal law before I even heard that term. So that's how my life works. So I really appreciate what you're saying about just really following that inner glow, that inner light, and whatever you are, whoever you are, truly, you just have to be that. And, if you're living for someone else or something else or, other than something that is truly substantial and like, eternal or whatever, then obviously we know that, we'll reap, the fruits of our labor, so to speak, like that. So yeah, in that aspect, I'm definitely really about to each his own. Like whatever I have said, whatever Jameel has said, in these hours, however we chop this up or whatever that inspires you, that you agree with or disagree with, I'm completely fine with all of that. But as I was saying before, I'm not into really debating for the sake of debate. So I'm just putting this out right now. As we put this up, whenever we put this up, in whatever time that happens, or whatever, I'm all for leaving comments open and having exchange about stuff like that. Whatever it is. But I'm not trying to really get into, debating, my perspective versus yours because I really truly respect everybody's perspective. You know what I'm saying? As long as you're not really, trying to tell me what to do with mine or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think we can all come to a place of understanding. And one thing that we should all be able to agree with is that there is something seriously going on this planet. And really, we talked a lot about Black, Indigenous, Asiatic, Moor, all these things like that, because obviously we got to deal with us first. But truly, there's the plague that's going on this planet right now that is, it's consuming everybody. And like we each individually, if anything, if nothing else, for our own individual self, we have to be true and really know who we are based on everything that's going on in the world right now. Because from one day to the next, one eye blink to the next, what I'm saying, it could be, completely different story. But having said that, bro, it's been real, like a blessing, like, breaking bread with you, man, and just like, being exposed to different concepts and like just sharing different ideas about and experiences about, just life in general and like how we perceive things or whatever. I know we have a whole lot that we could talk about as well, and we'll continue these discussions, bro. But I really appreciate, you breaking bread and giving your time, man, and yeah, like all the best with, everything that you're going through, like with regard to your transformation and all the vision that will come along with that, I'm just, hopefully, I can give you a bit of inspiration, and like, vice versa, and together we can inspire, maybe one or two people along the way.
Yeah, bro. Well, again, man, I appreciate you being able to take the time to do this. It's cool that we got to connect like this, and much love and light to you. And I hope we, stay in touch and we can do it again.
All right, bro. Well, yeah, I'm gonna let you go, man, and I'll be sending you a few of the videos and different documentation that we spoke on as well. And yeah, you do the same, man.
Okay, man. Thanks, man.
All right, Jameel, bro. I'm gonna talk to you. Take it light, bro.
All right, you too, man. Peace.
All right, peace.